This is a blog where I share my personal experience. The death of my mother, pregnancy, and the beginning of panic attacks. Around the time my circle of friends was buzzing with rumors and drama, things were also becoming chaotic with my mother. As I mentioned before, my mother was incredibly popular with men. They showered her with money and treated her like a princess. Some might think that sounds like a dream life, but she was completely bored with those types of men, always craving something new and exciting. The next man she became obsessed with was nothing like the others. He was older, unimpressive, and worked as a salesman by day and in an older men's pub at night, someone no one would find attractive. And he was married. At first, I assumed he was just another customer. It wasn't hard to imagine that the money she'd taken from other men was now flowing straight to him. Knowing how wild my mother could be, I figured it was just a fling, nothing serious. But I was wrong. She sparkled as she told me, "He's different from all the others." This man, full of empty promises, even told us kids that he was going to divorce his wife and marry our mom. Of course, the three of his siblings were firmly against it. But the more we opposed, the more obsessed she became and the deeper their affair grew. As expected, he kept dodging any serious commitment. The more my mother clung to him, the more her mental health crumbled. She began visiting a psychiatrist every week and was clearly deteriorating. Eventually, she started talking about ending her life. We began receiving messages from her once or twice a week saying, "I'm going to die." At first, we panicked, my siblings and I would go out searching for her. That went on for months, but every time, she came back. When I asked, "Why would you do this?" she'd say, "I couldn't get in touch with him. He must be with his wife." I tried to reason with her. "He's never going to leave her. You should stop this. You've had so many wonderful gentlemen in your life." But she wouldn't listen. The man had a son 2 years younger than me. At one point, I offered to talk to his son myself, but the man stopped me. He said, "My son isn't as understanding as you guys. Please don't." At that point, it was clear he had no intention of leaving his wife. Around that time, I found out I was pregnant by my boyfriend. I thought it might help shift my mother's focus back to me, even just a little. But it didn't. Instead, she attempted suicide again and was taken to the hospital. I was overwhelmed with frustration and shame. I spoke harshly to her, even while she was barely conscious from medication. "If you try this again, I'll do it too. If you're okay with me dying, then go ahead." She was too dazed to understand. A few days later, she left home again, saying something ominous. Honestly, we siblings were exhausted from being pulled into her emotional chaos. We figured she'd come back like always. So we searched briefly and then went to bed. But the next morning, she still hadn't returned. We started a serious search. Her car was found parked by the sea. Her phone was left behind, but she was gone. We immediately contacted emergency services, and a search operation began. My mother had thrown herself into the sea. On her phone, she left a suicide note addressed to the three of us. Before that, I had sent her a message. "If this is the path you choose, then I'll take it as proof that I meant nothing to you." I asked my sister if Mom had seen the message. She said, no, she didn't read it. Whether that was the truth or a kindness from my sister, I'll never know. It was heartbreaking and shocking. But deep down I felt a sense of relief. Relief that we were finally free from her. We siblings had been pushed to our limits by her repeated suicide attempts. My brother and I went to inform our maternal grandmother and uncle of her death. I'll never forget that moment. They collapsed to their knees, crying quietly. Watching them, I realized this is what it means to be a truly unfilial child. Her body was taken to the police station, and after an autopsy, the funeral was held. Because there was potential foul play involved, the authorities investigated the man she had been seeing. It turned out that at the time of her death, he was at a hotel with his wife. He didn't even show up to the funeral. It was an utterly bitter and painful ceremony. My mother had been loved dearly by her relatives. Her death brought sorrow to many. My uncle, especially, adored her. He was usually stoic, rarely showing emotion. But that day, he cried quietly, without stopping. In his letter to her, he wrote, "Even in your next life, be born as my little sister again." Truly, she had failed her parents and her siblings. Not long after the funeral, I saw that man in town. I lost control and confronted him. From that day on, I began experiencing hyperventilation. Even worse, the man continued calling and texting my dead mother's phone. "This must be a lie, right? I want to see you." His words gave me chills, subtly grotesque. Between disgust and fury, I fell into emotional collapse. In June, when I was 19, my world went pitch black. I was still pregnant, overwhelmed with fear about raising a child. In my mental state, so I made the decision to have an abortion. It was sad and painful, but I didn't even have the emotional space to feel those things fully. All I could do was try to stay sane. My heart was shattered, I became reckless and self-destructive. And yet, I was surrounded by incredibly kind people. My caring sister and brother, and my brother-in-law, protected me. Close friends stayed by my side, silently, even when I acted out, and gently held me back from going too far. I am still filled with nothing but gratitude. But even with their love and kindness, my emotions kept spiraling into darkness. And I began to repeat the same mistakes, disappointing them again and again.